Hi everyone, Petrik here. So for today's video, I'll be talking about all the books that I finished in the month of September. And hey, this month I'm doing just a little bit better than the month of August. I finished a total of 3 books. I know that's very little compared to the number of books that I usually read, but I think I'm starting to catch up to all the things that I need to catch up, and I feel that October will be a better reading month for me in terms of quantity and also quality. But speaking of quality, in the month of September, I finally did it. Not only I managed to find the 4th 5 stars books of 2024, I finally succeed in, reading the first 5 stars epic fantasy book of 2024, which when you think about it, it's quite sad. It's the month of September, and usually by this time of the year, I'll be finding a lot of 5 stars fantasy books, but not this year, unfortunately. But hey, I'm still glad that I was able to find one, and I have a good feeling that the last quarter of this year, I think I will find more 5 stars books. But anyway, let's start by talking about all the books that I finished in the month of September. The first one that I finished, it was The Liar's Knot by M.A. Carrick. This is the duo of Mary Brannon and also Alec Helms, and this is the second book in the Rook and Rose trilogy. Now, many people have mentioned that the sequel to The Mask of Mirrors is the best book in the Rook and Rose trilogy. And not gonna lie, when I was reading this Venetian epic fantasy series, I was starting to feel that this series would not be for me, because I enjoyed the first half of The Mask of Mirrors, and not really enjoyed, I felt a bit bored with it, but I really enjoyed the second half of The Mask of Mirrors. And then after reading through that, I expect that the first half of The Liar's Knot will be a much better reading experience, but unfortunately that did not happen to me. The first half of The Liar's Knot, there were some moments, there were some chapters where I really thought of, that's it, this series will not be for me. It's good, but it's not great. So I already thought of putting this in my DNF pile, and then I tried to persevere until I reached the second half, and I'm really glad I did. To put it into perspective here, this is how it goes. The first half of The Liar's Knot took me 10 days to read. 10 days. And then the second half, it took me only 2 days. That's how invested and immersed I am in the second half of The Liar's Knot. I think if you have read The Mask of Mirrors, you know that the main character here is named Renata. She was the dominant main character in The Mask of Mirrors. The Liar's Knot was not the same, because it starts to involve multiple characters, even though these characters are characters that have been introduced in The Mask of Mirrors, and they were integral to the narrative in The Mask of Mirrors as well. But in The Liar's Knot, they have become POV characters, mainly Rant, and then Vargo, and also Grey. These 3 characters are the most dominant main characters of The Liar's Knot, and I must say, I really enjoyed the development between these characters, and I think the politicking and all the developments, it all worked out really nicely in the second half. I think seeing that Rant, Vargo, and Grey starting to understand, and they see the price of their lies, the consequence of their lies, I think it was all very engaging, and I think I'm starting to finally see where the story is going here. I'm starting to see where the scope of the series has been escalated for sure, and there were some really, really big things happening in the second half of The Liar's Knot. So overall, I still gave this one a 4 stars. I got a question here in my Goodreads comment saying that even though the first half took me like 10 days to read, why did I still give this book a 4 stars rating? I think it all depends on the book and the matter of how rewarding the second half can be. If, let's say, I persevered in the first half and then the second half, it was just okay to good, then I, of course, would not be giving this a 4 stars rating. But I felt it was rewarding and the payoff was really satisfying. I look forward to finding out how the third book, The Labyrinth's Heart, will conclude the Rook and Rose trilogy within this month. I look forward to reading it, and hopefully it will be a satisfying ending. I heard some comments saying that this is the worst of the trilogy, so I don't know. Let's see how that will work for me. And then after that, I managed to finish of course, it is The Devils. This is my first 5 stars epic fantasy book of this year, and it is not a book that is being published this year. It is being published in May 2025. And before I start talking about this one, I got plenty of questions, even some hate comments on my Twitter account saying that I'm a swine for reviewing this book early. But here's the thing, I've been reviewing books for 8 years now. Yeah, 8 years, almost a decade. And once the book is out, once the advanced reading copy is out, most of the time, unless it is stated so, it means you are allowed to read and review the book. Especially if you really love the book, there is no deadline for that. You can review it as soon as you finished it, because pre-order matters a lot. Whenever that pre-order sales comes, it matters a lot to the book's success. And of course, because I love this book so much, I want Joe Abercrombie to success even more, even though he's already super successful thanks to the first Low World. So hence, because I'm the kind of readers who have to review a book immediately after I finish reading it, then I review it, of course. And yeah, I have posted a full Spotify review of The Devils on my YouTube channel. If you want to know my full thoughts about this book, you can check that out. But to put it briefly, I think if you come into this one expecting all the greatness of the first Low World, you will still get them. But this is definitely in tone and also in narrative style. It is quite different compared to the first Law. It is more fun, more hilarious, contain more jokes, and well, it is very action-packed. And you know that action and characterizations are some of the best strengths of Joe Abercrombie as a storyteller, and you will certainly get those here. But as I said, if you want to know my full thoughts about The Devils, I have posted a full Spotify review of this book on my YouTube channel, and you can check that. But right now, at this moment, and I don't know whether this will last because I still have The Fury of the Gods and also Wind and Truth to read. But at this moment, at the time of recording this video, this is still my #1 favorite fantasy book of this year. But that shouldn't come as a surprise. This is Joe Abercrombie we're talking about, and well, he's one of my top favorite fantasy authors of all time. And then after that, the last book that I managed to finish, it was the second book, The Last King of Wostenard, Empire of Grass. Yeah, this is the second book, as I said, in The Last King of Wostenard, but The Last King of Wostenard is the continuation, the series continuation to the Memory, Sorrow, and Dawn trilogy by Ted Williams. And this one took me a long time to read. Not gonna lie, it took me a long time, but it's not because I felt bored reading Empire of Grass. It's certainly not the case. I mean, I was quite taken aback because this one was only about 600 pages, but when you check the word count, this is bigger than the 800 pages long The Witchwood Crown, the first book in the series. But Empire of Grass, the type here, let me just show you here. The font, it is mega small. It is super small. Even though it is 600 pages, I think in reality, if the font is not this small, I think this is about probably 800 or 900 pages long. But this one took me about, in total, a month to read. Now, some of you might think, wow, that's really bad. I mean, I almost never took a month to read a single book. But to be honest, I took a 3 weeks break from reading Empire of Grass because I was in the mood of reading The Devils and also just continuing with Rook and Rose trilogy and, well, playing some video games and also watching TV shows. So that's really the main reasons. Not because I felt really bored reading Empire of Grass, but if you have read Ted Williams' writing, you know that his books, it is worth savoring. His writing is beautiful, it is immersive, and you like to take your time reading through his writing. At least that's how I felt. And Empire of Grass did not really pick up until the second half of the story. Not even the second half. I think that's not entirely accurate. To be more accurate, it is the last 30% of Empire of Grass, and everything just explodes to hell. It is insane. This book is probably the bleakest book in the Wostenard saga that I have read so far. And I haven't read, of course, the remaining 2 books in the Wostenard saga. I also haven't read The Brothers of the Wind when I'm recording this video. But so far, in the entire Wostenard saga that counts Memory, Sorrow, and Dawn trilogy, The Witchwood Crown, and then Empire of Grass, this is the darkest one of them all. It's really, really bleak sometimes. It never goes into nihilism, but yeah, is dark. Okay, I cannot talk about them in details, but if you have read Empire of Grass, I think you will know what I'm talking about, especially about the events that happened in the last 30% of this book. And I think even though many people have mentioned that you can read The Last King of Boston Art without reading Memory, Sorrow, and Torn Trilogy, I cannot recommend that at all. I think this book, this Last King of Boston Art, it shines more because you have read the Memory, Sorrow, and Torn Trilogy. It still involves many races and also characters or descendants from the main characters in Memory, Sorrow, and Torn Trilogy. I mean, for God's sake, even the main characters from Memory, Sorrow, and Torn Trilogy, some of them still appears in The Last King of Boston Art and still played a major part in the narrative. But I think one of the things that differs so much about Empire of Grass, even to Witchwood Crown and Memory, Sorrow, and Torn Trilogy, is how heavy the political intrigue was. And I guess I must say that some of the political intrigue, it was incredible, but at the same time, if let's say this one, let's compare this to A Song of Ice and Fire by George R. R. Martin, it is not as good as A Song of Ice and Fire by George R. R. Martin. I think George Martin in the first 3 books in A Song of Ice and Fire especially, I think they were all some truly top-notch fantasy writing. But I like it more when Ted Williams juggled the slow moments and also the deadly moments more in a more balanced manner. I think I like it more when that happens, and that did not really happen in Empire of Grass. Overall, I still gave this one a 4 stars rating, but I won't lie, there was some part of me that thought that maybe this one would be a 3 or maybe 3.5 stars rating, but of course that is not the case. As I mentioned repeatedly, the last 30% of this one was just absolutely mind-blowing, and I cannot wait to read Into the Narrow Dark, because almost everything that happened, almost every conclusion to the characters in Empire of Grass, they ended on the cliffhanger. And yeah, I cannot talk too much about this one because if I do, well, there will be a spoiler-free discussion. But overall, as I mentioned, this is a 4 stars rating, and it's about the same rating that I gave to The Stone of Farewell, the second book in Memory, Sorrow, and Torn Trilogy. And I expect Into the Narrow Dark and finally The Navigator's Children will be even better compared to Empire of Grass. But that's my opinion. So yeah, that's really it for today's video. Yeah, I know that this is a very short wrap up, and maybe, I don't know, maybe for next month and so on, maybe you want to know about the TV show or anime that I watch, then do let me know. If you really want to know about them, then I can talk about them in my monthly wrap up as well. For example, I finished watching Rings of Power Season 2, and yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on that season. But to put it very, very simply, I think Sauron was great in that show, Sauron and Celebrimbor. The rest, it was disaster, especially not the music. The music was amazing. I think Bear did an amazing job for the music, but yeah, especially the season finale, I had so many issues. Let's say if I were to give a rating to the finale of Rings of Power Season 2, I would give it a 2 out of 10. Yeah, 2 out of 10. 2 only for Sauron and Celebrimbor. The rest was just absolute nonsense. It was nonsense. I mean, there was a part where, I don't think this is a spoiler, but Galadriel, a character was asking her, should we become the sword or a shield? And she replied with, the light can defeat the darkness. That doesn't answer the question at all. I mean, should we become the sword or the shield? The strength cannot defeat the darkness. Light can defeat the darkness. Wow. Incredible, Galadriel. Incredible. And if you want to know more about my thoughts on the show that I watch, maybe I can include them in my monthly wrap-up as well. But yeah, anyway, for my book of the month, of course, it will have to go to The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. No doubt about that. This is the best epic fantasy book that I have read within this year so far. But other than that, I think that's about it for September wrap-up. As always, do let me know what you think about the books that I finished in the month of September. And let me know which books was your favorite, how many books you finished in the month of September. We're almost at the end of the year, and I will post the best books of the third quarter of 2024 really soon, probably within this week as well. But yeah, that's about it. As always, thank you so much for watching, and thank you for support. Bye bye. Lastly, I want to say thank you so much once again to all my patrons who keep on supporting me.